Hello!
Sounded like stuff.
Hi there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Behind the Weebs for SunnyCon Anime Expo. Today is episode 4, and what we're going to be talking about is guests. So, as you know, we as an Anime Expo, we have a lot of guests. We have lots of different types of guests. We have voice actor guests, cosplayer guests, cultural expert guests, and just general guests, just for the sake of having guests. Guest. So, what I'm going to touch on today is how we book guests, you know, the different intricacies around that, because a lot of people say, like, you know, oh, how did you get this guest? And we're just like, well, we ask. But it's a lot more intricate than just like, hey, do you want to come to SunnyCon? Oh, yeah, sure. And, you know, we go from there. So first off, for choosing a guest or asking a guest to SunnyCon Anime Expo, we've got to take into a few factors. First off is who you want. We ask you on a poll, usually at the end of the year, and say, like, who do you want to see coming to SunnyCon Anime Expo? And usually whoever's at the top of the poll, we will try to get. Also, on top of that, we have different contacts, like, in our own personal list, usually for who, like, me and Donna want, or who the rest of the committee want, you know, and also who would sell tickets. So that's the first part. How we identify a guest is just ask and see who will be popular at the time. So then we've got the process of, like, you know, we've identified who we want, then we go forward and we see if they've got a direct email or contact, or we'd go through a talent agency and see if they're available for the date. And that's the next thing, you know, one, if they'll say yes or no, two, if they're actually available at that time, and three, if they can come back with the right kind of offer for our budget. And that's where it gets a little bit tricky around that area. So when we've asked, the majority of times we go through a talent agent, and the agent obviously has to come back with like a more inflated figure, because they get like their 10% commission. So the more the guest gets, the more they get a cut of. And some agents, they'll respond to you immediately. Others, it takes time, because it's the whole process of we go to agent goes to them, guest might be working, might take a while, then get back to the agent, and then, like, you know, 2 or 3 weeks have passed, and then the agent gets back to us, and we're like, oh, yes, we did ask this guest, but we've moved on. So it's a bit frustrating at times with that, but the majority of the time it usually works out. We usually get a direct response within 2 to 3 weeks, and we're not really waiting on it for too long. So when the agent or the voice actor's been contacted, we get to the part of negotiations, and they come back with a fee. There's different kind of sections here. We need to find out, like, will they fly economy, because economy flights from America are the cheapest that we can afford for the budget. Sometimes premium economy, but that's if we've got a really big budget at the time. Also on top of that, their fees, different things like a per diem, which is like their daily allowance for food and whatnot. If they want to bring an extra traveller, which is another flight onto the budget, and lots of different things that come together, and, you know, we can take all them details and then hammer them out into a contract. And the contract's just, you know, a standard contract, name, date of birth, you know, I agree to this, and, you know, both parties come together and we get it signed. And once the contract's done and everything's been hammered out, and this usually takes about 1 or 2 weeks of back and forth between us, the guest, or us and the agent and the guest, and then we get the contract sent over. We sign our end, date it, send it back, they sign it, and then it's official. Then we can start looking at the next phase. So next phase after that comes the announcement and the announcement preparation. Announcement preparation, we usually put 1 to 2 weeks aside, and for that we get lots of images and promotional materials, and we set, like, you know, an advert up on Facebook ready, so as many people can be informed. And that's become a lot more difficult over the years, because Facebook algorithms have changed, and unless, like, lots of people immediately start liking and sharing it, then it doesn't get seen by many people. So the best way around that now is give Facebook more money, and you'll get more attention on it. But that's not just, like, one part of it. Like, on online social media advertising, we also have to upload a bio and picture to the website. We now do videos, which, because we used to have the problem where it's like we say, oh, ex-guests coming, and somebody be like, well, who's ex? Never heard of them. But these days, you know, we can put a video together, have a little compilation of all the characters together, just post that up, and then so nobody can turn around and go, oh well, who's this? And we're like, well, this is who it is. And so more people know who. I mean, sometimes we have to miss the characters off because the videos can go on forever for some guests. It's all part of the fun of running a convention, and for us, we get just as hyped for the announcement because, you know, for us, we've had a lot of work behind the scenes to get this all through, and as soon as a guest's like, yes, we're confirmed, you know, legally, contract signed, we can look forward to it. And we're always excited when we do guest announcements, and it's always been that way. You know, that's pretty much it. That's the basics of it. But when we book guests, it's more than there's a lot more than what I've discussed so far, and that's what I'm going to go into now. So, issues we can run into when booking a guest. There are many pitfalls along the way. First off is if you don't get a response like straight away. There's a few times we've emailed certain guests or certain guest agents, and we either get like one response, and when we come back with something, you know, that's it. You know, no response after. And for us, it's frustrating because, you know, you need some kind of closure on that, but you've got to leave a certain amount of time before you can say, right, we'll stop going down that avenue and we'll go off to like plan B, C, D, and so on. And we've always got, like, you know, backup plans for if something was to go wrong in that circumstance. Sometimes we've had it where guests have had to cancel out of the blue. We've had it where we've had time to have a replacement guest, which is always good for us. And sometimes we've had it where it's like last second, and it's really effective because, you know, we spend like a year of promoting, and we use their images, their characters' images, and, you know, get people hyped up the same because guests are a big integral part of an anime convention or any event for that matter. And some people book photo shoots and that, so it's you know, we know that, you know, it is subject to change. It's in the contract, you know, indemnities and whatnot, that, you know, something could go wrong. They could get a bigger offer of, you know, a bigger job that they just can't turn down. And we understand because the way the contracts work over in America are, you know, you need work or you get nothing. And if somebody comes along and says, you know, I've got like a big juicy contract, and, you know, you've got a choice of a couple of grand over in the UK for a week, or, you know, bigger substantial paycheck, then go for the paycheck. I'm assuming anyone would. Not ideal for us, but it sometimes happens. That's one of the issues that can arise from it. Another issue is that other variables that we have to take into consideration that can go out of our hand. Hotels overbooking and cancelling rooms at the last second. Flights that delay, and that has been the big one for us in the past, where flights have got in a little bit too late, because usually when guests arrive, it used to be a case of they'd arrive like either the day before the event or 2 days before the event. And we've had to push that further to say like 3 or 4 days before the event, because flights have been really unreliable for us in the past. And it's got to one point where, like, we've got the event the next day, we have to be up and in the venue for about 6:30 to set up with traders and everything. And we've spent, like, you know, till 3 o'clock in the morning sitting at Newcastle Airport or any other airport waiting for this flight to get in. And obviously the guest is absolutely jet lagged because it's last second, and it's not ideal work conditions to turn around and say, like, you know, well, in literally a couple of hours you're going to be in front of thousands of people the next day. So to get around that, we've asked guests to come in a little earlier, and it's worked out so far. But once again, you know, transport, especially in Britain, it isn't the best at the moment. Another issue with guests, and this is the catch-22 for us. This goes back to, like, we ask, we would have more guests, but for us the integral part of it would be budgeting and how our budget shapes up, because we have sales figures from previous years and say, like, you know, well, this is how much we can make, and we take that forward and say, right, we can take X amount and put it into the guests' budget chunk. And usually the best way to see more guests at SunnyCon would be to buy more tickets. I know that's, like, you know, it's a sales point. Obviously buy your tickets early and buy lots of them. I'm not saying buy 2 tickets for yourself because you only need 1, but if you want to, go ahead. And we want to get, like, a budget sorted, so we look at how tickets are doing, how they sell, if they're selling really well from the start, if not, and that's what affects our budget going for guests. There are other contract types, such as a guarantee, which is where the guest wants X amount of money and they've got to make that back in signings, like on the day photo shoots and whatnot. And if they don't reach their preset target, then the organizer will pay the difference up to that amount. Or if they make any more, then that money goes back to them as like more profit. So it's like when you see a Comic-Con event, I know we're an anime event, but if you see a Comic-Con event and like it's a big movie star, like someone out of the new Star Wars movie or something, and you see them like commanding £200 to £500 per signature, that's why, because them as big movie stars, they've got to decide, if I do this event, I've got to be paid and like the rate that they get paid by Hollywood at the time. So that's why you won't see like many in vogue stars like from the Avengers movies without like a huge sum of money attached to their signatures, and it's because they could be making millions of dollars over in America doing their day job, and if they take a time out to do that, they're not going to want like a couple of grand to sit for a weekend and do signings or photos. So it's got to be worth it for them, and it's the same with voice actors as well. They've got a job to be doing, and they've got to make it worth their while to actually take time off work and put in a holiday. And in the anime industry, especially like how they dub it in America with simul dubs, they're working really hard and they've got strict deadlines. And it has been times when we've had guests come over and they're actually part of like the ADR or directing side, and they've brought their work with them to actually get deadlines met. So it's tough for guests, and we understand, like, you've got to fly over, you'll be jet lagged, you'll be knackered, and you've got to interact with people. And the thing is, the guests have all loved interacting with fans, and that's not to say like, oh, I'd rather be doing work than meeting fans, because they wouldn't have said yes in the first place. But it's different aspects that you wouldn't take into consideration when somebody turns around and goes, yes, I want this like big Hollywood star actor that's currently in vogue coming to the event, and we as organisers are sitting there like, well, they can be earning like £1 million a day. Can we cover the £1 million fee? And usually it's not, and that's why you don't really see big voice. Well, that's why you usually don't see big actors or like the more bigger voice actors, because they're getting paid an absolute F-ton more than what we can offer at the time, and we'd have to wait like a few years until like their peer bracket goes down, or if they feel charitable enough to actually like give us the time of day. So it's a different like side of it that most people don't really get with guests. When you go to your Comic Cons or any event, you say like, yeah, I want the current Doctor Who to come over, and it's like, well, she's currently filming and BBC pay a pretty good wage. Plus sometimes like the production companies are like, you can't have our star because reasons. So it's a lot of different things to take into consideration. So the guests, when they come over, they do little fun things. Some go on excursions down to London, maybe to Edinburgh, different places around the UK while they're here, because they've got a bit of time to kill, and obviously it gets over the jet lag and any other things. And it's great to see a bit of history, because in America, I'm told, they don't have many historic buildings at all. So seeing something that's over like 75 years old is pretty good from a tourist point of view. I mean, just like the old dilapidated buildings, to them it's like, ooh, history. So sometimes, like you say, we go on excursions. Sometimes I like to walk around like the city. We've actually taken a few guests through to different places, different sightseeing spots. Sometimes they just go themselves. It hasn't been unknown that the guests will visit Anime Z, and you might be going for shopping, bit pre-con shopping, and there's the guest standing right there, weeping out just as hard as you are. And the guests will be at the event, obviously, over the 3 days, but they do things outside of the event. It's not all work. We do allow some play. Maybe they'll go on the boat party, who knows. It has been known to happen. Not trying to sell boat party tickets because they're selling really well, but it's a possibility. I don't believe we've discussed with this year's guests that we actually have a boat party, and they're welcome to come aboard if needed. If you're watching this video, you're welcome along. So anyway, this has been a look at guests and just a little few snippets of information. There's obviously a lot more detail I could go into, but I'm legally not obliged to. And I hope this has been educational. Thanks once again for joining us. Remember, if you're not part of our social media, like, share, subscribe, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, we're on them all. I believe we have a Discord set up as well if you want to randomly chat on that. Thanks for being here, and I shall see you next week again. Goodbye.